Test, 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 test. I think I got volume now. Y'all let me know. Y'all put a one in the chat if y'all can see me. Y'all put a one in the chat if you can see me. Lonnie, I got you. Uh, y'all put a one in the chat if y'all can hear me now. If y'all can hear me. What's up, Mr. Fluffy? Thank you for the lurk. Jim, I still don't hear you. Okay. I'm getting registration over here. Okay, so you can hear me now. Okay, good, 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 good. Sorry about that. Y'all know how this technical stuff works. I appreciate y'all coming to this show. Thank y'all for being here. Shout out to all my people in the chat right now. This is a special show. Let me go ahead and bring my guest in. He's been over here waiting patiently. My brother Lonnie, can I hear you?
I hear you loud and clear, brother. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Outstanding, outstanding, outstanding. Appreciate you. Thank you for being here, bro. I just well, let me go ahead and just introduce you. We kind of behind because I had some technical issues, as you can see. But so guys, the content of today's show is as advertised. Christians who vote Democrat. I just think it's political season, and you guys know if you've been here any amount of time, that when I came back and I retooled my show, rebranded my show from the new Real Talk Radio to In Context with Jim Green. Um, I made a commitment to lean to be more specific to biblical and spiritual topics, and I have been true to that. But that does not mean that I'm completely removed from that. In fact, as a person on planet Earth, we cannot escape the topic of politics because it's just the world that we live in. So it's political season, and I felt that it was time to me to start making, so I've been doing more political content. And when it comes to politics, there is no one that I know that is more astute and pertinent in this topic than the guest that I have on with me today. That's Mr. Lonnie Poindexter. Appreciate you, brother. So let me tell you a little bit about Lonnie. Lonnie is the founder and president of the Lion Chasers Network, an association of faith-based organizations and activist clergy mobilized to speak on issues of the day that negatively impact our nation. Okay. Also, he is a Washington, D.C. correspondent. He covers current events in the nation's capital concerning public policy and the faith-based community. Also, to credit is also he is a featured speaker with Content of Character, which is a nonprofit organization that specializes in sharing the true history concerning the dignity and value of African Americans in America's history. Okay, and then finally, um, Lonnie is the director of partnership development of everyblm.org, an organization that protects Black life from conception to death by confronting injustice and deconstructing barriers inside and outside of the Black community through a national platform of training, networked resources, community organizing, and faith building. Thank you very much for being here today, Mr. Lonnie Poindexter.
Well, thank you so much, brother. Appreciate the great send off. I am humbled to be in your presence and excited about being on your show today. You know, I've been following you for a while and tracking you. And uh, we come from the same neighborhood, so to speak, being West
Yes.
Coast boys, and it's beautiful to see the type of work that you're doing right down where the rubber meets the road, and in particular as you speak on something very near and dear to me, and that is speaking up on the plight of for lack of a better term, Black Hebrew Israelites, and pointing out their uh, misinformation, so to speak, or
Yes.
misunderstanding of Scripture, and how though they might be genuine in their desire to speak truth, but you challenge. The word says we're supposed to do that, and we
Yes.
challenge each other. And in counsel of many, you'll find wisdom, and you're one of those individuals that are speaking wisdom, though rocks may come your way. I'm
Yes.
kind of
As
used
they
to that
often do.
myself because
Yes.
my radio show in DC, which I had because I was blessed by American Family Radio, the largest Christian radio network in the nation. They have
Mhm.
about 186, 187 stations across the country. I wasn't on all of them, but I was on quite a few of them.
Mhm.
My show, and we talked about two things on the show that I believe you delved into as well, to some degree, and that
Mhm.
is that the interconnection between faith and public policy, or
Yes.
politics, as it were. And so, what we do is try to get the truth out about number one, as Christians, we're commanded to be participate in the public square, in the market square, in the government square, in every facet of society to be salt and light, because that's what we're commanded to do by our Creator and His Son Jesus, and
Yes.
Yeshua, however you want to term him. You guys know who I'm
Yes.
talking about,
Yes.
and so we're supposed to do that. And in doing that, I learned that I found my purpose. I also found out what real heat is. Because
Mhm.
as Christians, we think that well, we're, I'm persecuted as a Christian, as a black Christian, and what have you. You don't begin to catch heat until you start talking about what we talk about.
That part.
Because you have folks that look like us,
Yes.
but they want to call us everything but a child of God,
That's right.
and saying the error in our ways, but we can back them up with scripture and we can back them up with history. So
Yes.
that's what I've been called to do by our Creator. And
Mhm.
I spent about just a little bit more about my background. I spent about 20 years, well, 20 plus years in high technology in Silicon Valley, and so that's my formal background until
Yes.
God got my attention and says, "Son, I want you to do this." And I was like, "Yeah, God, but I'm doing this right now." "Son, I
Yes.
want you to do this." "Okay, well,
You
okay,
interrupted
Lord."
me. You interrupted me, God. I'm doing some stuff.
So what he did, he grabbed me by the collar and yanked me and got my attention.
Yeah.
And the rug came out from under me. I went, "Oh, okay, I'm listening now."
Yeah.
And by him doing that, in short order, he shipped me off to Washington, D.C., and that's why I was there.
Amen. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord, man. It's such a blessing, man, to have you on the show today. And I just tell people that when my political self grow up, I want to be like Lonnie Poindexter. That's what that's what I tell people. You know what I'm saying? Let me get some shouts out to my over to my chat before we get started, man. Kevin Page, appreciate you for coming. Thank you for being there. Sheila, Mahone, one of my great moderators. Appreciate you for being here. Mr. Fluffy, thank you for being here. Um, I thought, didn't we have? Oh, Stevie Rankins. Yeah, Stevie Rankins. Thank you for being here too, brother. Appreciate it. Another one of my moderators. Thank y'all for being here. So, brother, the reason why I picked this topic to talk about is because I see it. It's funny, Lonnie, because these people that have come out of the woodworks all of a sudden. Now, I'm just going to set a little scenario for me. You tell me if you've seen the same thing. These past 4 years, we know we've been enduring economically, in policy wise and whatnot under the Biden Harris regime. We already know. We don't even need to talk about that. Everybody that's here is filling in their pocket right now and filling in other places. We don't even have to go that deep into it. But all of a sudden, Biden drops out of the race, Harris jumps in, and now out of the woodworks, all these people are coming out and supporting her. A lot of which are people that say that they are Christians.
Hmm.
Okay. And so it got my antennas up, right? Because I'm like, okay, let's look at the value system of and I'm gonna be honest with you. As far as Democrat and Republican, we can look at the full spectrum because honestly, and you would attest to this too, Lonnie, we do have some Republicans who look more like we call them rhinos, right? They,
Mm-hmm.
their policies look more like Democratic policies than they do conservative, more liberal than conservative. We know this, right? But as a platform as a whole, we know that there's some stuff going on the Democrat side where Christians should say, I don't think I should be a part of that, right? But we see this all of a sudden, this uprise of people who say they're Christians that's gonna run out and vote for Kamala Harris because she black. I mean, can we just say that? Can we just say that? We can say that without getting censored. YouTube, y'all not gonna censor me, is y'all? Because I'm just being real. They just because she's black, but to me that's not the issue though. To me that's not the issue. My issue is with Christians who who understand, and we're going to go through some of those issues, some of the things that the Democrat Party is clearly pushing policy wise, that the Bible would fully uh, um, um, reject. The Bible fully rejects it. Okay, but yet because people are in their feelings right now, people in their feelings right now. I'm gonna go vote for her, forgetting about the policies. Are you seeing something like this, or am I just making stuff up?
No, no, you're seeing that you're astute, brother. You've done your homework, which we all should be doing, in which we're finding there are people who have not done their homework, or they've done their homework and they don't care, and so they're going to take this stance anyway. I find it appalling. You know, they don't know if you ask them specific questions about her policies, she
Mm-hmm.
can't answer you because she has not spoken up till recently, even about
Yes.
some of her policies. And her policies are no different than they were than when she was, acting as vice president under
Right.
Biden, and what the party stands for. So it goes back to even what the party stands for. If you just look at this recent convention that they held, and,
Yes.
and when I think about this, I say, I can't believe it's happening in my lifetime. They
Yes.
had a portable abortion facility set up at the convention where
That's right.
women could go and get their babies aborted. Any Christian that calls himself a true Christian
Mm.
that would take that into account and ignore it, I
There's something
question
wrong.
whether they're really a Christian.
Yes. Yes.
and
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 and it was 20, there was 20 some odd women, and they were giving them the abortion pill. And
yes.
everybody thinks the abortion pill is this, you take a pill just like you take an aspirin, and you're all right in the morning or later on in that evening. But that pill does horrible things to women. If you
Yes.
watched any of the videos that where they talk about it, those women go into convulsions. Women have hemorrhage to the point some women have died from taking that pill. And so that's what they were administering to those women at the convention. They were championing it. And
Yes.
this candidate that's running for president on the Democrat side fully supports this,
Yes.
fully supports it. When she
Yes.
first announced that she was going to be the candidate, so before the convention, one of
Mm-hmm.
her first speaking engagement was to a bunch of transgenders and cross dressers. So she's addressing a portion of the community where the word of God is very specific about individuals who have those particular, and I'm trying to be nice here because, yeah, we don't want to be canceled, have those particular, I'll just say, frailties and in need of prayer. And she champions them, and you have those same type of individuals that are doing a story time hour at libraries across the country in full support of this party and of the local governments that are allowing them to do that. And they're able to do that at those libraries because Christian folk ain't speaking up.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. And see, you already tapped into. I don't know if you tapped. I don't know if you cracked my computer or nothing or something, because you just tapped into all my stuff I got over here to show. But
All
it's
right,
just, I mean, but
I'm
we
gonna back up then.
no, no, no. You good. You good. You good. Because that mean we seeing the same thing, brother.
Yes.
And anybody who has spiritual eyes can see through all this. This is why it's mind blowing to me that people who said that they're Christians, I'm a Christian, I love God, I go to church, I believe in the Bible, but let you back a candidate or a party that fully supports policies that not only are against the Bible but are against God. Period. So this is why the whole reason why I'm having this, the whole reason why I'm having this show. So what I wanted to talk about, of course, we already touched on it a little bit here. We've been talking about abortion, talking about abortion. Okay, let's just say what it is. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to point out we're talking about policy today, Lonnie. We're talking about policy because I'm gonna be honest with you. Everything I don't care about anything that any politician is saying until I hear your policy. Okay,
Yes.
that's what I want to hear. I don't want to
Yes.
hear he said something mean. Oh, she said this. She doing that. This person endorsed that person. I don't even care about endorsements, honestly. I
Uh,
think they're useless. To be quite honest with you, I think endorsements are useless. To be honest. I want to show me the policy. Show me the policies. That's what we vote on.
yes.
That person is bringing you these are my ideas. Should I become president, I will make these ideas a reality. So that's what we should be listening to, right? So here is a policy that was adopted by the Democrat Party. Okay, because we talking about the differences in parties. Okay, and it goes to this. This point goes to what we're talking about right now, which is the abortion. Now, what we're going to talk about now is a Born Alive Protection Act. The Born Alive Protection Act was a bill put forth by the Republicans to say, okay, a woman has an abortion and the child survives the abortion. You should then take medical action to keep the baby alive. The baby survived, you should alive. Um, the Democrats got up to block it.
Yes.
And we're gonna look at that video right now.
Yes.
To pass my Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act. This is a very simple bill, Mr. President, and it should be a non-controversial one. It simply says that a baby born alive after an attempted abortion is entitled to the same protection and medical care that any other newborn baby is entitled to. That's all. It doesn't limit abortion. It doesn't make abortion illegal. It simply states that a baby born alive after an attempted abortion is entitled to medical care. And yet somehow this bill is too much for my Democrat colleagues, Mr. President. Somehow saying that a living, breathing baby born alive after an attempted abortion is entitled to medical care is a step too far. I'd be interested to know exactly what it is that they're afraid of. And I suspect they're afraid that by pointing to the humanity of the born child, they might end up pointing to the humanity of the unborn child. After all, it makes no sense to say that a baby is not a human being a second before birth and is a human being a second after. And so I suspect that Democrats are afraid that recognizing the humanity of a living, breathing, born child in an abortion clinic might end up leading to protection for unborn children. And Democrats are apparently so determined to ensure that the supposed right to kill unborn children is protected that they're willing to oppose a law to protect born children. It is a tragic measure of their extremism on this issue. And if anyone thinks that abortion isn't a slippery slope, that we can somehow devalue unborn babies' lives while maintaining respect for everyone else's, well, I'm here to tell them differently. Because we're at a point where roughly 50% of the United States Congress opposes protecting the lives of born human beings if they happen to be born alive after an attempted abortion. Mr. President, in a matter of seconds now, one of my Democrat colleagues will object to this legislation. But I hope and pray that this will not be the last word, and that one day soon we will get to a point where legislation like this will not be controversial and where human rights of every human being, born and unborn, will be respected.
So you heard the whole thing, right? You heard it.
Yes.
Clearly he laid it out. He laid it out and made it very clear what the objective of the bill was, just like I said. If one wants to have an abortion, what it is. But if one lives the procedure, survives the procedure, we keep it alive. Now, two things, Lonnie. One, why would any human being want to be against that? I don't. That's mind blowing for me. I don't get that. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Do you got any comment on that? If you have any,
Yeah, many comments, man. I'm with you. I don't get it either. You have to question whether someone is even human. Um, but folks I've learned can block things out. In particular, I find that uh, women, I have to really watch myself when I'm discussing this topic with women because I've had women just get belligerent and in defending the right for them to do away with what God has created because
right?
they think that they're the creators of
Yes.
of the baby and they're not. God's the creator and God's the creator because man provides the seed. The only thing the woman
Thank
does is
you.
incubate the baby within her, which is a great honor. But
Yes.
to think that that baby, and they know, I mean, there's so much evidence now that shows that. I remember a time, I'm old enough to remember back when abortion first came on the scene in
Mhm.
1973, where it was legal.
Yes.
And we didn't know what it was. We just thought it was something that took away an unfortunate incident. You messed up and you got some girl pregnant, or some girl got pregnant from dealing with somewhere she was soft on, and this is how you could deal with that so it's not a problem anymore. We had no idea actually what they were doing. Now there's so much data out there that shows what they do, and it's a horrible thing that they do. And they, and why is there a difference between a baby that's in the mom's womb and a
That part.
baby that's born? But just simply because the baby's outside mom's body,
Yeah. That.
then it's a living, breathing thing, huh? But see the political parties, and here's the deal, and this is for any of your followers or listeners that are happen to have the darker paint job like we have.
Yes.
Abortion has single-handedly, I'm sure you've covered this, cut the black population in half.
Oh yeah. Oh
In
yeah.
half. Since
Yes.
1970, there's over 20 million black babies that should be here that aren't. I read a study that said, I think it was the Archdiocese in Washington, D.C., said that if the babies that had been aborted had been allowed to live, today we'd have over 80 million Black Americans in America.
Wow.
So
Wow.
now we're somewhere around what 40 million, I think it is the number now. So
Yes.
it's the KKK could never dream of what abortion was able to accomplish because of Margaret Sanger and her cohorts. And she had a whole litany of folks that were right with her. Trying to think of one, Rockefeller and some of the others that were involved in this,
Yes.
in handing this out. And they're funded by the federal government. So every time that a baby's aborted, the government
Mhm.
kicks out a check to the abortion factory.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
this is all driven by the Democrat Party. Now, there are
Yes.
those, just as you stated, the rhinos within the Republican Party stand. That's because they don't have a backbone. They,
Right.
they they don't want the pressure that comes from standing up against this. But the
Yes.
Republican Party, though it ain't perfect,
Right.
At least is taking a valiant stand in this area. And it's partly because, and I'll say this and I'm going to shut up because I can go on this, because there's individuals like myself and my peers in DC and in pro-life organizations across the country that are folks of all color. But I'm speaking
Yes.
specifically about the Black folks that are standing up because we know what it's doing to our community. We
Yes.
know what it's doing to our community, and
Yes.
and it needs to stop. And it's orchestrated. Okay, if you want to talk about white supremacy and racism,
Mm.
that's where it is.
Mm.
It's not what happens to one of the brothers if he's locked up. Although things can happen there, where it's really happening and hitting home
That's
is
right.
our race is being done away with,
That's
and
right.
we're signing up for it to happen.
Mm.
And and,
See,
and here, see, I'm gonna jump in here. These pastors,
come on now.
I
Come on.
work at I work almost exclusively with clergy, and God's called me to be an edifier of the pastoral community. I'm
Yes.
not a pastor, I'm not ordained, but for some reason, God likes me rolling with them because I have
Right.
a heart for them,
Yes.
and it's in my bloodline too. I learned out my grandfather, and going back, we're pastors as well. Um, it pastors are the ones that should be speaking up on these matters and all political matters. Now, I know we have the Johnson Amendment that says that we can't do that, and Lyndon Baines Johnson had that passed for purely a selfish reason. I can go into that later on, but
Hmm.
that passed the Johnson Amendment. But
Yes.
pastors have to speak up and challenge the congregation to be salt and light.
Yes.
That's how it happened. When we think about our plight as Black Americans,
Hmm.
where did we go from being second class citizens to first class citizens? Is because Dr. Martin Luther King and many others of his generation stood up and did those marches, got jumped
Yes.
on by the police, beat up dogs, chewing on them, and everything else, and lynched and everything else, so that you and I can do what we're doing right now
That's right.
on a platform like this.
Yes,
And
sir.
so all of a sudden now, pastors don't want to get involved. I'm talking about the Black ones. And
Hmm.
there's a I am I'm not a Kojic member, but I got a lot of family members that are Kojic,
Mm.
and so I have an affinity for Church of God in Christ.
Yes.
But the presiding bishop for Church of God in Christ stood up and supported Kamala Harris.
Yes.
Said that he could not support somebody that has all these convictions and so forth. And if you
Right.
follow anything going on with the what I call the lovingly I call him the rude New Yorker, you'll find that
Yes.
99.9% of that stuff is trumped up charges. But that's
Exactly.
another show, another topic. And
True. True.
but
True.
he won't stand for him. Though Trump is the one that stood up for the pro-life community. I was in Washington, D.C. when he had Vice President Pence come and speak at the largest pro-life rally in America, in fact, in the world. Happens in Washington every year in January. And I was there. He had Pence speak, and then Trump did a drive-by.
Right.
We're all at the event. Pence is through speaking. Secret Service are everywhere. All that's going on.
Yeah.
News cameras and everything everywhere.
Right.
And Donald Trump shows up in the Beast, the limo that they ride in
Right.
around there, just to give his thumbs up that he was fully in support of it. And
Right.
and yeah, he's called a racist and everything else.
Of
So
course.
it's really interesting how that took place. And
Yeah.
they didn't start hating Donald Trump until he said he was going to run on the Republican ticket.
That's
Before
right.
that, they loved him, and you got all the pictures of him with black folk to prove all that.
I just
And the
yeah, I just did it. I
organizations.
just yeah, I just did a show on that
Oh,
very
you
thing,
did?
and
Oh,
yeah, I showed all the pictures of all the black stars hanging out with him and all that type of stuff, man. It's just it's crazy how this juxtaposition has happened, you know. But you were talking about the black pastors and their support of abortion, getting up in their churches and whatnot. I actually have a clip that's dealing with that. And we're gonna take a look at this clip because I think
okay.
this is a problem. And this is from a fair use. This is a clip from a brother called Smart Christian. Um, and he does great content. If you guys aren't already, I think a lot of my people are subscribed to him. If you're not subscribed to him, go ahead and hit him up. always has good content. But let's look at the clips that he put together.
Aware of the overturning by the Supreme Court of Roe versus Wade. Again, I say my prayers are for the women of America.
But
wait, hold up. Okay, so let's stop right there. My prayers, listen to what he says. My prayers are for the women of America. Really? Your prayers are for the women of America? You made something mention too that we don't talk about. And I actually did a small little documentary on it too, about the physical and mental anguish that comes through this. Not only that, Lonnie, how these clinics, the 911 calls to these abortion clinics when the abortion goes wrong. And these women are end up bleeding out in their facilities. They can't get any. Nobody talks about this, but his prayer is for women. It goes out to Black women.
Mm.
What about your prayer for the unborn that was just unjustly had his life taken, his or her life taken? You don't have no heart for that. I just wanted to say that. Let's listen to a little more of this, because it's actually it's quite appalling. Let's get to it.
But as a man that can't carry or give birth to children, I recognize that it is not my place to decide what a woman can and cannot do with her body.
To see how we're cheering our own.
Now you know about this brother here. You know about this brother.
I know him personally. He's a tremendous.
Oh, okay. This is good. Let's let him talk. Let's let him talk. He gonna speak a little bit farther in here.
Bishop Patrick Wood.
Yes.
This argument, this issue can never be stated or proclaimed enough. And I want to take a backseat a little bit and let Bishop Wooden, as he so eloquently does, I want to let him give a defense and call out some of these preachers who should not be there. These are people who are not only traitors to the gospel, but those who happen to be Black are also traitors to Black people. As a matter of fact, any particular human being, he not only is a traitor to the gospel, to God, but he's also a traitor to mankind.
Slavery, when it ended, all of a sudden we had a population problem. I'm preaching. All of a sudden there were too many of us. There weren't too many of us when we were slaves. Couldn't make enough. Make the slave have sex with his own mother. Hence the word mother. You finish it. It was a wicked time. But God set us free. The nation went at war with itself to end slavery. Now there are those historical revisionists that says, well, the Civil War had nothing in the world to do with slavery. Well, whether it did or didn't, when it was over, the emancipation took place.
Too many people, too many preachers, particularly too many Black preachers, are more Black than they are biblical. And one of the things they always want to bring up is something having to do with slavery, Reconstruction, Jim Crow.
Okay, he says something right there that grabbed my attention. Too many preachers are more Black. You know what I'm saying? Then that's true, right? I had to say that as I've been watching, I have been seeing that very thing that he just said happen. If you put your Blackness ahead of everything, this is a problem. You put your Blackness ahead of your political choices. You put your Blackness ahead of your social choices. You put your black, everything, black, everything. Brother, we cannot do this as Christians. Our Christianity has to be first. Our godliness has to be first. The word of God has to be first place in the life of the Christian. Am I barking up the wrong tree or what?
You straight preaching, brother. You're straight preaching. It's you find that we call it tribalism. We have other names for it as well, but yeah, blackness over everything. And you've had we had a pastor that Brother Kevin, who was one of the co-founders of our organization, reached out to, and the pastor cut him off. He says, I vote Black. I don't care what the situation is. I vote Black. Even if voting Black is detrimental to the very people that you say that you're supporting, And so yeah, it's color over everything, and that's why we had the first black president that was elected. That's why he was elected. Nobody knew his
Right.
policies either,
Right.
and then his policies rolled out, and we've been suffering from them. And then this current administration is just doubled down on what he set forth.
Yes.
And what folks are telling me in Washington D.C. is that behind the scenes, that former president is still pulling strings.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I'm hearing the same thing, Lonnie. I'm
Yeah.
hearing the very same thing that you just said. I'm hearing the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's just an amplification, like you said, of what he already put forth. Let's listen to a little more of this though.
But they never want to bring up this issue. They never want to bring up race in regard to this issue.
Right.
And they should. And there's a reason why. We'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But Margaret came along, her and the eugenicist movement. We got too many people, 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 too many people.
And you need to understand who he's speaking about. She simply just did not like black people. Now, she was also obviously not a Christian, but she didn't like black people, and she thought there were just too many, unless, as he said, unless we were slaves. Now, she wasn't around during slavery, but I'm pretty sure without question she would love to have seen this, because she thought that we were low people, that we didn't have the intelligence, we didn't have the self-control. And let's just be honest, in some cases we kind of prove her point by what we're doing. We are not victims in our own demise, we are participants in our own demise. So she comes around and she wants to offer a means by which we could eliminate ourselves, reduce ourselves. Now, how do you go to black people and convince black people to get rid of themselves?
And Ruth Bader Ginsburg, before she died, you know, she was sick, and I think that part of her brain stopped working that tells you not to say things you shouldn't say. She said before she died, with Roe we went too far in the passage of Roe. She said, I thought we wanted to get rid of those kinds of people that we didn't want to have too many of. Now let's go back to 1970. In 1970, when Roe was passed, the major two populations in America was black and white.
Yeah.
Ruth was not talking about getting rid of white folk.
No.
Right.
Let's be clear. People who are for abortion cannot be for black people. There's just no way around that.
The funniest thing happened when they put the pill on the market. Black women wouldn't take it. Back then, black families, you know, 12 kids, 13, 15.
Yep.
Your family was small if you didn't have but 8. And our enemies were trying to figure out a way, not only to kill us, but to stop us from reproducing. Black folk honored big families. Y'all not saying anything. And black women wouldn't take the pill. Margaret said, now we got to figure out a way to get Negroes, if you will, to participate.
Thank you for that.
And she went to Harlem, New York. And she got some people to work with her. Now let me ask you this before I preach. How many women in here have on shoes that you can easily take off? All right. Well, before I tell you who she got to work with her, let me hide. She got black preachers. All right. Didn't nobody throw a shoe, you know. I didn't want to go through that.
Now, unless you think he's making this up, these are some of the black preachers who absolutely are for abortion.
This
Now
week,
watch this roll out right here.
turned
This is
back
the part I
hands
really
of
wanted to get
time
to right here.
and declared war on women in this nation.
Y'all do know America's going to hell, right? But my conviction is America can't go to hell with me and my family living here. I know that's not politically correct. I'm not supposed to say that.
Hey, look at the shirt.
And
Look at the shirt that he has on. Look at this. I want you to look at this.
Yeah, what does
Look.
it say?
Look at the shirt that he has. It says women have rights too. That's what it says.
Yeah.
So let's examine this for a minute, Lonnie. Women, he's a preacher, he's a pastor, quote unquote pastor. I use that term very loosely with him and with Jamal Bryant. And be honest with you, any preacher that's in support of this, I use that term loosely. Women's have the right, let's finish the sentence for him, to murder their children in the womb. Essentially, that's what he's saying.
It's exactly what he's saying. And let me tell you why. Well, I know you know, but just for your listeners, why he's saying that. My dear old dad taught me something many years ago, and I repeat it often. He says, "Son," he said, "follow the money to learn of the true motivations of a person, place, or thing." Money flows to individuals like this so-called pastor from Planned Parenthood and other supporting organizations. They get checks in the mail, and that's why they stand up and say what they say. Jesse Jackson was anti-abortion
He
until he
sure
ran for
was.
president, and he needed the money to run his campaign. And
Yes.
so Planned Parenthood came to him, George Soros came to him, and others came to him, and they
Yes.
wrote checks, and he backed up
Yes.
off of that. You don't hear him say anything about that now.
That's right. That's 100% true. I'm glad you brought that out too. I'm so glad you brought that fact out because a lot of people don't know that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But that's why we got to bring the heavy hitters on, man, so we can talk about this here type of stuff. So let's see. Jesse Walls, appreciate you, man. Thank you for being here, my good brother. Hey, so yeah, so let's let this video play a little bit more. Yeah.
And some people will say, well, Bishop, you're a man of God. Are you pro-abortion? I am pro-human and civil rights.
They don't care who it hurts. As a matter of fact, they just maybe I don't know. Maybe they want to be a part of what's happening. Now, there's a passage that applies to them. The Bible says, Amos says in 3:3, do two men walk together unless they have made an appointment? Or how can two? Some versions may say, how can two walk together unless they agree? They clearly agree with these people.
Got the preacher to convince the people. It is in your best interest to have a smaller family. It is your best interest to stop multiplying. It is in your best interest. And went from there to you see preachers now in pulpits. You see political candidates. You hear people cheering and getting all excited as we talk about a woman's right to choose, a woman's right to health care, a woman's right to do what she wants with her own body. And what they're talking about is one thing.
And so women have rights too. I don't have a.
I want to interject here because I want to bounce this off of you, Lonnie. Okay, about what Pastor Wooden just said. Okay, a woman has a right to do what she wants with her body. I know you hear that. I know you hear that all the time. Okay, DeAndre, appreciate you, man. Thank you for checking in, my brother. So here's my thing. Why is no one else saying that nobody has anything to say about this woman when she's about to get in the bed with Chuck and them? Okay, we're not talking about that. We're not talking about her committing adultery or fornication,
Right.
which brought this situation about in the first place. But after she gets pregnant, now all of a sudden we don't have a right to tell her what to do with her body.
Right.
How come nobody's telling her about the right to her body before she jump in the sack with Johnny? Am I being weird? I just want to know, man.
No, you're just speaking with common sense, man. It's common sense, and they ignore that. But see, I'm a '70s child, so I remember the '60s, and
Right.
the '60s was when the free love and all that came in. So they created that environment, and I think Bishop touched on it a little bit, or the brother touched on it. They had the pills, not the abortion pill, but the pregnancy pill, to keep so you don't get pregnant. And that became prevalent, and then the free love thing started. And so the consequence of that is that, two people that are co-noodling together, what happens oftentimes is somebody gets pregnant.
Yes.
And then, okay, so what do you do now? Well, let's have a convenient way to do away with that. And so they started that. And I remember, and then 1973, they passed the abortion legislation at the federal level.
Yeah.
And I remember in the community I grew up, they had 2 abortion centers in the community where I grew up.
Right.
In my community is Los Angeles suburban community, a very small community right by the airport. Yet they had 2 abortion centers there. 99.9% of the women going in there were Black women.
Yeah.
And then white women get abortions as well, but not nearly as often as we do.
Yes.
And you have abortion centers in, depending on which research and study you look at,
Hmm.
somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 some percent now.
Well, I know I just did a study on this, and I know in one, I think it was um, Mississippi. I think it was
Uh,
Mississippi.
mhm.
80%
Yeah,
of the abortions in Mississippi
yeah,
were black.
yeah.
I got, let's see. I would pull up that we don't have time because I'm trying to get somewhere. But
Go ahead.
yeah, I have the whole stats. And overall it's 42%. It's around 42% right now.
Yeah,
Um, but in specific cities, it can go upwards of 60 to 80%, bro. Just like you just said.
like
That is
Washington D.C.
that is crazy, man. That is, and that's when we get to the level of okay, now it's genocide. Now we purposely killing ourselves at this point. You know what I'm saying? And so yeah. So let's see. Oh, okay, that's what I want to do. Okay, so we I mean, we could go on with this abortion thing forever. It's just so deep and so wide. We can be there for a long time. But we're talking about the policies of the Democrat Party that a Christian doesn't understand. When you vote for a Democrat, you're voting for the policies of that particular politician and their policies. So this is only one. This is only one area. Now we're getting ready to go into another area, okay? And it's the area of our brothers and sisters in the rainbow community. Okay.
Mhm.
So just so we're clear here, just so we're clear, okay, people do understand that sexual activity between same sexes is prohibited by God. Because if you listen to some people, brother, they want to tell you that it's okay, love is love. You know what I'm saying? We don't have the right to try to tell people, and you know the whole thing. Christians are saying this stuff. So, can we be clear? Can we be clear without having a full-fledged Bible study right now that God's idea of relationship is sexually speaking, one man and one woman. How much more clear do we need to be, bro? How much more clear we need to be?
Can't be any more clear than that. But folks, I've learned folks can ignore a bus that's about to hit them and say, "Well, it's not really a bus," or "Well, it's not going to hit me," and they're
Yes.
right in front of the bus, and then then smack, and then you get. Uh, it's frustrating. And I know it frustrates you. It frustrates me as
Oh
well
yeah.
because our people, we are an intelligent people. We are a people that endured
Mhm.
slavery
Yes.
and we came out of slavery. And if you know the true history of us as a people, you'll know that we came out of slavery. And I learned this from the Heritage Foundation, and the gentleman that headed up this department, he was
Hmm.
white Irish Catholic, but he had a passion for our community. He said, because, and I've heard this before from other folks that I know that happen to be Irish and come from Ireland, that the Irish experience and the Black experience is similar in some aspects because they were persecuted over in Europe and what have you. He said that when Blacks came through, because this myth today is that our communities are broken down because of slavery,
Right.
and he said it's not true. He says our communities are broken down because the entitlement programs that were instituted in the mid 1960s, father
Thanks.
was pulled out of the home. That's
Yes.
what decimated. Because he said historically, when we were slaves and were freed, we found our spouses that were pulled away from us. We remarried
Mhm.
or we married somebody else. We had children. We kept moving forward. When we didn't have our own schools, we opened our own schools. We started institutions of higher learning. And he said that historically, on a global scale, and I'll never forget this when he said this, we went from a population of people that were largely illiterate because of slavery to half a generation we became primarily literate. He said that's never happened in history before, but it happened with us as a people.
Wow. Yeah. See, and that's see you that kind of knowledge, like we don't, like they don't teach that in the school.
No.
Yeah, they don't teach this in the school.
No, they don't.
And we're teaching them CRT. We're teaching them that, but we're not teaching them this. You know what I'm saying? I just don't get it, man. And here's the bottom line for me is here. This is my thing when it comes to, as a Christian, as a person who believes in God and believes the word of God, when it comes to the rainbow community, it belongs in the area of sexual sin. I mean, it's just like a fornicator or an adulterer. It's in the same area as that, period. Now, if you want to engage in that, you understand that God is not for that. But I'll leave you to, I'll give you leave to go. But here, brother, here's where I start drawing the line. When we start drawing our children into this, that's when you're gonna get some pushback from me, some serious pushback, not just pushback, blowback. Okay. And not only me, I'm getting ready to show this my brother here, because it's happening right now. And remember, we're talking about Democrats who vote, Christian Democrats who vote, Christian Democrats who vote, Christians who vote Democrat. This is what you are voting for. This is my whole reason for doing this show, Lonnie. I want you to see, I want you, and I hope you guys are sharing this. I hope you guys are sharing this in your communities, on your Facebooks, on your Instagrams, because I want every Democrat that says they're a Christian to understand what you are doing when you are putting your support and vote behind the Democrat Party. These are all policies that they represent. Okay, so let's go ahead and play this clip right here.
Hello, Navarro. Suck any good lately. What's wrong, Navarro? I think you like a big in your mouth. Ha ha ha. Page 23. The other boy, page 23. What are you talking about? Here it is. What's the educational benefit of talking about the What's the educational benefit of talking about that? Is that going to help someone on the SAT score? Hear me kind. Get a shot at that. She can care less. That's a sign. She needs to put down her sign. A second. Oh, you're putting me out. For what? For asking you to abide by the rules. A board member held up a sign, but the audience couldn't hold up signs. This is tyranny, and we're dealing with a corrupt government system.
Hey, fair use. Fair use, by the way. This brother, I got to get this brother's name. Oh, okay, here it is. John Amanchu. I can't even pronounce his last name, but you can find him. You can see his name is right here. Look, this brother is going out to the schools to confront them like he just did. And his problem is that you guys are putting this in front of our kids. You're putting it in books that our children are actually reading. You're putting it in the libraries that and then he gets up to read it and they get all indignant. You see what happens. And then the member of the board holds up a picture that's clearly supportive of the LGBTQ community, and nobody says anything to that. You see the dichotomy that we got going on here.
It's amazing. I remember someone sent that to me, man. I'm glad that you posted it. And
Yes.
But it shows how bad things are. So how did that happen? The school board was infiltrated. This goes back to our original statements about the church has to be involved in politics, because if you don't, it creates a vacuum. that sucks in all the uglies. So you've got alphabet people on the school board that condone this kind of thing going on, because as a wise person once told me, folks that are in the alphabet community, they can't reproduce, so they recruit. And so they are looking to train up the next generation, which is our children, to get them comfortable in these types of things. And we know where this stuff leads. It's truly sad. You know, I used to do, my father had a consulting company to school districts throughout the state of California. And for a season, I worked with his company. And so I used to sit in on school board meetings. I'd have to present to the school board meetings. And the school board meetings, you notice, depending on which school district you're at, you had people that should not have even been holding those positions, but they had those positions because people of faith, Christian people, or like I say, common sense people, are not participating. So we inherit the win because of that.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So in like you said, in strictly because of what you said, that's why we need to be involved in politics. Now, I am smart enough to understand that the sovereignty of God says that sometimes God will give the people what they want. I mean, as a judgment against them. Am I right?
Oh yeah.
It's happened in the Bible several times.
Yeah.
Right? Is God said, okay, you want that? Okay, I'm gonna let you do your thing. And they end up ruining themselves. I think that we're in a place now where the same thing is happening to us right now. We're seeing people, we're seeing God saying, okay, if you want that, I'm gonna, but here it is, Lonnie. If we sit back quiet and allow these things to happen, they're going to happen.
Yes.
And this is why we need to be involved in the process. I used to be on the fence about that. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. I used to be on the fence about that. I don't know how much impact we can really have, yada yada yada. But now I'm changing because I'm seeing, I done jumped on the Lonnie Poindexter train now. I'm like, we got to do something, man, because if we don't, what's going to happen to our children, our grandchildren? If we keep going down this moral road that we on right now, what's going to happen to our children and our grandchildren? That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
And that's what it's about. You know, your theology you have to have a mature theology. We know Christ is coming. We know that. We know the season, but we don't know the timeline. That's determined by folks in heaven above, by our Creator and His Son when that happens. But my understanding of the Bible is we must, because we're a Christian army. Christ didn't call us anything but He called us a Christian army. Armies fight. And so we can't sit with our bags packed at the train station waiting for Jesus to come while all hell is breaking loose, because your children and your children's children may suffer because of what you didn't do. You know, you got folks think that Christ is coming tomorrow. So, I know pastors like this say they don't participate. Separation between church and state. I said, well, that's not the Bible I read. I said, Jesus was very political. Oh, no, he wasn't, Lonnie. Oh, yes, he was. I said, he spoke up against the religious and the political elite of his day. And so did his cousin, John the Baptist. And it cost John his head. It cost Christ ultimately his life. But it was all according to God's plan, because you and me are here as saved Christians because of Christ laying his life down. But we must understand, and so there's a book I want to recommend to everyone. I don't know if you have it in your possession. If you don't, I'm going to get a copy of it to you. There's a book written by one of our co-founders. His name is Neil Mammon. The book is titled Jesus Was Involved in Politics. Why aren't you and why isn't your church? And he went and did an exhaustive study. It's a thick read showing the political times when Jesus was on the scene and actually what was going on in the political environment and why Jesus said the things he said and went to the places he went. And you had the religious elite, just like today, you've got folks that claim Christ and what have you, but they ain't really rolling with that. And you
Yes.
also had the political, and they were walking in league together. It was all about power. So
Yes.
Christ was speaking to that.
Yes.
And the other thing, folks are saying, man, Lonnie, you call people names. That ain't Christ-like. I said, well, Jesus called them names. Like from this book I read, Christ called them what? A cackle of snakes
Yes.
and
Brood of
all the
vipers. Brood of
yeah,
vipers.
vipers. That's
Yes.
pretty low to the ground.
Yes.
He called Herod a fox.
Yes.
And so what I didn't understand about, we think of foxes as cute little cuddly creatures. They were considered varmints back in the day because they raided chicken coops and all that kind of thing. So if you were
Yes.
called a fox, it was not a compliment.
That's right. Oh yeah, he definitely went in. He went in for sure.
He went
You know what I'm
on.
saying?
He went
Yes.
in on them. And
Yes.
so should we.
And that's what I'm saying, because I get attacked all the time. You've been watching, man,
Oh yeah.
and sometimes I say things, and you know me, Lonnie, I just say it direct. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes, Jim, people say, Jim, you just seem like you're not loving. You're not loving enough. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes the truth, Lonnie, the truth is not all soft and beautiful and hugs you and
Preach.
makes you feel good. The truth
Preach.
is not always like that, bro. Sometimes the truth cuts you down to your quick, and you know what I'm saying? It gets to your heart. And sometimes God just tells me, Jim, I just want you to say it like it is. This is the person God made me to be. Jim, just say it. I hate to be in that position because I know what's coming, Lonnie.
Yeah.
I know what's coming. I know the persecution is coming. I know the attacks that are coming. But you know what? God built me this way.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? He built me this way, and which is why I'm doing this type of stuff right here that I'm doing right here. I'm gonna get some. I'm gonna hear from this. You know what I'm saying? I've already heard from it. You know what I mean? So I want to just so we just want to first of all, I just want to tell my friend Nick Austin, appreciate you. Thank you for joining the broadcast. So I'm putting my brother's stuff. I'm promoting your stuff, brother, because I want everybody to be on your squad, bro. I want everybody to be on your squad. So I'm putting the links, and at the end of the show, I'm gonna you give all your links, man, so people can be a part of where you are, because you're in the center of all this stuff that's going on right now. And I just really I want my people to have privy to good information. You know what I'm saying? That's what I just wanted to let you know that. And with this issue, let's talk about the current Democratic I don't even nominee for vice president, because they really don't get selected. We don't really want I know if we just gonna keep it real, nobody nominated Kamala Harris. She didn't get nominated by nobody.
Exactly.
She barely got 5% when she was running for president, barely 5%.
Yes.
Okay. You couldn't even, they primaried you. Your whole own party primaried you. You got selected to be the vice president. And guess what? You're in position to get selected to be the president elect if you win. You're not popular. I mean, that's just me. But anyway, so her running mate, I think I need to let everybody know, her running mate, Mr. Tim Walz, in case you don't remember who Tim Walz is the dude from Minnesota that watched his state burn to the ground during the BLM riots. Am I right?
Yep.
Same dude. Okay, so I want to share one of his policies. Okay, so if you're voting for Kamala Harris, you're voting for Tim Walz. Okay, let's just make this clear. You're voting for Tim Walz. Okay, here is one of his policies. Okay, you see what it says on the screen: trans, 6 years old, custody battles, and tampons for boys.
Yep.
Tim Wall's record on kids and queer ideology. Okay, let's read the story. Tim Walls may have the manner of a kindly Midwestern dad, but when it comes to protecting the country's children from transgender medical interventions, Walls is not interested. Listen, in fact, he wants the opposite. Vice President Kamala Harris tapped the Minnesota governor as her running mate Tuesday. This is a while back anyways, prompting scrutiny of his progressive record on everything from immigration to abortion to gender ideology. Walls signed a cluster of legislation. Listen, a cluster. What is that? A bunch of legislation in April 2023 that established Minnesota as a haven for children who want puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and transgender surgeries. Now, let's talk about that for a minute, Lonnie, because I know this is in your wheelhouse. You know what I'm saying? I know this is in your wheelhouse. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about what we talking about when we talking about things like the puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and let's talk about that for a minute. Are these good things for our young people?
They're horrible things for young people because what he's also done is the school districts would be the administrators to these types of things, kind of like in California where you know a child, male or female, if they decide that they don't want to be that they're what they were born with, they want to become a different sex.
Yes.
The schools don't have to tell the parents. And
Wow.
California seems to be the lead on all these kinds of things. In Minnesota, which I'm calling the California of the Midwest now, and I had no idea because I hadn't been following that closely. But I got friends that live there. This old Lonnie, he's the worst. He's probably worse than Kamala in some of his views. The other thing is, most recently he talked that he felt that there was grounds for doing away with free speech.
Yes.
So, these individuals are socialists headed toward becoming ultimately communistic in their viewpoint.
Yes.
And so they try to veil it now because, nobody wants to have that moniker on them, but that's certainly where they're headed. And he is, he's evil.
Yes.
He needs Jesus, as my grandmother used to say.
Yes.
And but these are the type of individuals that they choose. This is who was, running rampant at the DNC convention, and the boldness that they have. Brother Green, they're bold. They're so emboldened because they don't think that there's going to be any repercussions for the stance that they're taking, their support of the alphabet community. And we do counseling because I work with pastors and so forth like that. And you get into learning the background of folks who decide they want to be a different sex and so forth. Almost certainly there's molestation involved in that background and abuse and these types of things. And with women who end up with the pregnancy thing, and so instead of ministering to them in a way which should be done by the church, by the way, not government, the government thinks it can be the final arbiter, and that's exactly what it's doing. In California, and I learned this years ago before I moved to DC. In California, there's a school district, if I remember correctly, it's Palmdale or Lancaster there in High Desert, California. And the school district allowed an organization come in to teach sex education to grammar school kids. Well, the parents had a cow because they did their research and they found out that the organization was an alphabet organization.
Right.
If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Coming in to talk to them. And they're very graphic in how they describe things and so forth. So the parents went in and protested and says, we'll take you to court. They went to court on this. It went all the way up to, if I remember correctly, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. And the federal government said that the government is the final arbiter in the affairs of children, not the parent. Did you hear what I said? And that's something the government is. And that's how they're acting now.
Yeah, That's absolutely crazy that they would want to say that. But this is again, these are Democrat policies that are being enacted to take control of your children is one of the things they want to control. Not just that, but that's a big part of what they want to control. They want to, I hate to say that, but it's just a fact. In fact, Lonnie, while we talking about this, while we on this, um, I told you I'm going full frontal. I'm going full frontal today. I'm showing all. I'm showing everything. This is another thing that we got that's backed by the Democrat Party. Okay, everything I'm showing you are all backed by and documented. Everything I'm showing you is documented that the Democrat Party supports these policies. I'm not attacking anything or anybody. I'm just simply showing you that if you're a Christian, these are the policies that you're supporting if you vote Democrat. That's all I'm simply want to do. So, because I think some of this y'all know, some of this y'all don't know. So let's put this one up. Let's put this one up. Okay. Now we already talked about. We showed the brother that shows you the what the books that's going into the library. Okay. Now, look at this video that I'm getting ready to show you right now. That's going on in regards to our children in the alphabet community. Take a look at this video right here.
Of a drag queen performing in front of infants. Yes, infants. The vision is so shocking that we have to heavily blur it. But these are grown adults in bondage gear or in G-strings strutting around in front of tiny kids, infants, toddlers.
Why?
The heavily sexualized drag shows is just the latest in a growing list of drag events being targeted towards children. Joining me now is Sky News contributor Dominique Samuels. Dominique, you were the first to expose this footage on Twitter. It was your tweet that went viral. Tell me about these performances for toddlers and babies. Why?
Yeah, why? Tell us why.
Right, well, it is quite the saga because when I came across these screen recordings and screenshots I was sent by my followers, I was absolutely horrified. Did a bit of digging, bit of investigation, and it emerged that this company is a baby cabaret company. It's called Cabba Baba Rave. So this is heavily sexualized events involving drag queens and people wearing barely any clothing, dancing suggestively, but it's targeted at young children. And people have said, well, they don't know what's going on. The babies don't know what's going on. It's for the parents.
What? Oh, the babies. This is how they get around it. Oh, the babies don't know what's going on.
Anybody that's a parent knows that children are sponges.
Yes.
Even if they can't talk, they can pick up on what's going on and look to try to articulate it. You know, it's, oh God.
This is, you know what? This is, and I get a pit in my stomach every time I watch that, bro, because this is what we looking at. But I want people to understand that these are look, they get pushback. They get pushback every time. Like they just did a I think it was in Florida or somewhere where they made a law saying you can't perform to children under 18.
Right.
Guess what the community did? They got ticked off. They start fighting back. Oh, you're taking away our rights. We're just performers. Why do you want to perform in front of children? That's and like I say, if you want to go and do that amongst yourself as adults, I'm gonna pray for y'all. Y'all need to be saved, whatever it is. But go ahead and do that. But why do you have to bring that to our children now? And that's what you're voting for when you vote Democrat. This is all documented, guys. All this is documented. The current people who are running for president and vice president fully support these types of policies.
Yes.
I am not unjustly attacking anything or anybody. All this is documented. This is why I'm showing you the articles. I'm showing you the news reports. All these things are actually documented. So I just want that to be clear. You know what I'm saying? This is why I say, Lonnie, I don't see how you can call yourself a person that's saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost, walk with God, walk in the Spirit of God, but you still vote for these kind of policies.
Yeah.
I don't see it. I know that's being judgmental, but you know what the Bible says? The Bible says, people say, but what the Bible say, don't judge. No, the Bible don't say that. The Bible says judge righteously.
Right.
That's what it says.
Yep.
So that's what this is. This is a righteous judgment. Now, we're going to talk about something I know you know a little something about, brother. When it comes to another organization that we're going to talk about called Black Lives Matter. Okay? Now, you got an organization called Every Black Lives Matters, which I love, by the way. I love the fact that you said that, because in regards to abortion, that's my comeback.
Mm-hmm.
That's my comeback to the Black Lives Matter movement is Black Lives Matter, even the ones in the womb. That's me. You understand what I'm saying? So I appreciate the fact that you recognize that, and your organization is one that truly does care for every Black life. So thank you for that, brother. Appreciate that.
You're welcome, brother. Sincere thanks to Kevin McGarry and Neil Mammon. Those are the two gentlemen that founded the organization. And they did it in direct response to what they saw BLM was doing, because they saw churches and other folks who, that Christian folk and want to do the right thing were aligning themselves with an organization who had a completely different agenda
Yes.
than they thought they had. And anybody that knows anything about BLM, they were founded by two or three alphabet women.
Yes.
It was anti-male. It was anti-family. It was anti-law enforcement. And so we founded our organization as, and to sum up, we are the antithesis of BLM. So whatever
Yes.
BLM was, we're the opposite of that. And so we
Yes.
speak on true history, our true history. We don't condone James Cone's Black liberation theology and all that other foolishness that takes place that also permeates up out of BLM. And as I'm sure you know, brother, they got millions of
Oh,
dollars.
yes. Yes.
It was unreal the amount of money they got pledged and that they actually received. And so
Yes.
what do? They do what snake oil salesmen have always done, going all the way back to Booker T. Washington, is they're championing a so-called black cause. And what they did, they self-enriched themselves, bought
Yes.
multi-million-dollar homes, and
Yes.
you don't hear much about them anymore.
No,
And
they
then
just disappeared.
they just disappeared because if the government really starts tracking what they were doing, some of them will go to jail.
Yes.
And
Yes.
but this is what happens. And then our people, and I got a lot of classmates and so forth, and posters and everything, and then they throw rocks at me because I've been pushing back on this since it first came up, because I knew the history
Yes.
and the real agenda. And by the way, BLM was founded by, or excuse me, financed individuals like George Soros
Yes.
and his cronies, and they are the oligarchs, the behind the scenes, very, very wealthy, multi billionaires who are
Yes.
driving an agenda to destroy America, ladies and gentlemen, because they see America is the linchpin or cornerstone that if they can destroy America and its history, it can affect the rest of the world. So you got the big Satan and the little Satan. If you think about what the Palestinians call and the terrorists call
Yes.
America and Israel, but those
Right.
two nations are are nations that built on a foundation of God. America was it's a nation built upon a Judeo-Christian ethic, and that means that back to the founding of our nation, if you search the true history, well, Lonnie, they had slaves back then. Yes, they did. But you know, slaves were everywhere in the world. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, and I know this brother has covered this, they got the slaves from other Africans who
They did.
sold them into slavery.
Yes.
And then America had a war and fought amongst itself. And to date, if I remember correctly, there was still more people killed in that war than all the other wars America had combined.
Yes.
To right that wrong, and then they want to rewrite it and says, well, it was, you know, it really wasn't about freedom for slaves. It was about
Yes.
states' rights. I said, well, I would disagree, and there's several reasons why. You know, all I know is our people were freed after that,
That's
and
right.
that you had the first. And I know I'm saying stuff that you've told your people already. The first senators and congressmen
Yes.
that were black were all
Hmm.
Republican.
Yes.
Every
I just
last
2 weeks ago, I just talked about that 2 weeks ago.
oh my God. Every last one of my good friends, I wanted to introduce you to him because I told him about what you were doing with a brother named Pastor Bruce Rivers.
Mm.
And I'd known him since grade school. And he found out that he was actually related to one of those original senators and congressmen that were black.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and he was so excited, man. He just wore my ear out about it. And why it was significant is because he had learned later on in life that he was adopted, so he thought he didn't
Mm.
have any family.
Oh
And then he
wow.
found out he's got family connections going all the way back to the original senators and congressmen that were black,
That's big.
Republicans, everyone, every
That's
one
big.
of the HBCUs that were
Yes.
founded,
Yes.
Republicans.
Yes.
And most of them, the names of the colleges, like
Right.
Howard University, that's a
Hmm.
white man's name. And wait, most of the students that go to Howard don't even know
Yeah.
that. So
Exactly.
yeah, that's
This
another
is and this
show
is
for
all the
another
stuff
time.
this is what I'm saying, bro. This is the stuff that people don't talk about this stuff. This
No,
is, you know what I'm saying? Because the powers that be want to keep these things under wraps. You know what I'm saying? And so yeah, this is why we don't talk about this type of stuff. And I just want to I'm gonna put this up and we're gonna read this, but I need you here. I need you to help me here, brother, because we're gonna talk about Black Lives Matter. We've been talking about them. So let's talk about this. This is a article from the Foundation for Economic Education. Here's what it says, talking about Black Lives Matter. It's Black Lives Matter's goal is to disrupt nuclear family fits a Marxist aim that goes back a century and a half. Now, I want you to talk to my people about what Marxism is, because I don't think that we have a full, true idea of what Marxism is in our country. I just don't think we do. So talk a little bit about Marxism for us, brother.
great topic, man. Thanks for bringing that up. It's at the center of our things that we're doing now. And Kevin McGarry wrote a book called "Woke Up" that digs right into the who the real bad guys are. And forgive me, I'm trying to keep from sneezing. I got allergies. But in his book, he does an exhaustive study of where did white supremacy and racism come from. And due to his exhaustive research, he determined it goes back to one individual. And folks would go, oh, no, that's not right. White people, they say, oh, okay, no. You know, how people were determined historically, and I'm quoting him from his book or paraphrasing from his book, was never based upon ethnicity and skin tone. It was based on nationality. So if they had rocks to throw against you and wanted to war with you, it's because you were from one nation and they were from another one. That began to change when evolution came on the scene. So we're talking about late 1700s, 1800s. Evolution came on the scene due to one individual, Charles Darwin. Now, there were others in cahoots with him. I won't bring up their names, that would take too long. But he came up with this thesis and this false narrative that evolution took place, and that where you were on the evolutionary ladder determined how high you were in society. And so obviously he said that if you were white, you were higher on the ladder. If you were black, you were closer to the apes and the gorillas. And he called us that. He's a big time racist and a bigot. He instructed several individuals, one of which was Karl Marx. Karl Marx came on the scene and perpetuated via socialism that same mindset, those that are higher up the ladder than others. So it justified folks who have the darker paint job being treated like animals. And that's how slavery got a real foothold in Europe and in America, because they could justify in their minds that blacks were less than whites. Charles Darwin, he wrote this book, Kevin wrote this book, and he goes, and his bibliography has everything in it. It's a great tutorial. And I didn't realize, I knew about Charles Darwin, I knew about the evolution thing, but I didn't realize that he is the granddaddy of the mindset that allowed individuals, and you look through history around Hitler, big fan of Charles Darwin. You take your run-of-the-mill dictator,
Right.
all of them were fans of Charles Darwin. Even black dictators like Idi Amin was a fan of Charles Darwin, because everybody, I'm higher on the ladder. So that's what exists today. Now, here's the thing that's interesting. Charles Darwin is celebrated in academia. He's celebrated in the school systems. He's celebrated in the science community. And evolution is thought of as a legitimate fact. I remember when I was coming up, it was merely theory.
Yes.
And they would say that, well, it's just a theory.
Yeah, they say the theory of evolution. That's how it was taught to me.
Yeah,
you know? Yeah, so
with it, I went, oh, okay. I was raised as a Christian. My mom and dad taught me what the real deal was, and the pastor supported, and I believed it. So I didn't hear anything they had to say about evolution. But it's completely different. And if you talk to the young people from this current generation, even Christians, they see evolution as fact.
Yes, exactly. Which tells you a couple of things, Lonnie. Either we have failed to educate as we properly should, or the what's the word? The revisionist.
Yes.
Revisionist history has won the day when it comes to that. You know what I'm saying? One of those two, or a combination of the two. That's what it seems like will happen. I'm just so glad I owe my mother so much, because my mother took it upon my mother. Her mother was a teacher. My grandmother was a teacher. And so she passed that down to her daughter. My mother made sure that we were educated at home. Okay.
Yes.
So much to the point where we were the only kids in the whole neighborhood. We had you see these books right here? This came from my mother. This is my mother's. This is a fruit of my mother sowing into me as a young man. And we had Britannica and World Book encyclopedias in our house.
Yes, so do we.
As a kid.
Yes.
See, and you know what I'm saying? And we educated ourselves. By my mother knew and understood, I'm going to have to take a hold of the education piece, or my kids are going to be miseducated. She understood that. You know what I'm saying? You got to remember, my mom, she had me in the 60s. You know what I mean? So in the middle of the civil rights struggle, there was me. I born during that. So my parents as teenagers were in the middle of the civil rights struggle. You follow what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yes.
So a lot they passed down to me things that I still have to me to this day. And that's one of them, that we have to properly educate our people, which is why I love what you're doing, Lonnie. I love it so much because that's exactly what you're doing. You're taking that position that educational bent is important. It's very important. You know what I mean? And I do the same thing in my life as well every day. So let's see. Let's talk about um now when it comes to religious uh religious freedom, you could call it, right? Attacks on God. Now, it's clear if you look at the history. See, and this is another thing that we don't really want to talk about. We don't really talk about a lot. This attack on God. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so do you remember? And I was looking for the video on this. I know it's out here, but the video, it was the 20. I think it was the 2020 political year when they wanted to take God out of the platform, and somebody actually took him out and they had to vote it back in.
Oh yeah.
And there was this struggle
Yeah.
amongst them to get consensus to
Yes.
put God back
Yes.
into their platform. Do you
Yes.
remember that?
Yes, I do remember it. I was at the GOP convention was in Cleveland, and we talked about that, how they had pulled out of the Democrat Party, they had pulled any reference to God out, and then they got such heat. You know, there was a groundswell of people even within the Democrat Party, and
Yes.
then the GOP had a field day with it, and then they reinstituted it. Yes,
Yes.
yes,
And see, that was a great demonstration on how anti-God they are, even though, like we've been talking about, they sure do make their way to the black church when it's time to vote, and they get real black. You know what I'm saying? All of a sudden. But we know that if we look at the record, we look at the vote, the policy and voting record of the Democrat Party, they are clearly anti-God.
yes.
I mean, I hate to say that, but it's just a fact. I'm gonna pull the story up right now so we can take a look at it. So, like I said, I got receipts. I got receipts, brother. I don't be out here trying to make false accusations against nobody. Here it is. Biden abandons religious freedoms as first among rights. Okay. So what does this mean? Let's do a little bit of reading, just a little bit. Okay, just the Biden administration is making stark departure from past administrations in how it talks about and treats religious freedom. In his remarks, May 2012, on the release of the 2020 report on international religious freedom, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken correctly asserted that religious freedom is a human right, one at the heart of what it means to be human. Unfortunately, Blinken then went on to say that religious freedom is not more or less important than any other right, that all human rights are interdependent, and that religious freedom, like every human right, is universal and co-equal with other rights. Now, here comes Joe Biden. This is a theme that President Joe Biden, Secretary of State, has visited several times since his March 30 speech. Of course, this is I'm just bringing up old stuff. This kind of stuff gets under the radar. You know what I'm saying? And we never hear about this type of stuff.
Right.
Repudiating the Unalienable Rights Commission convened by his immediate predecessor as Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Blinken's repudiation of the commission's report is purely political because the commission highlighted the importance of religious freedom. The progressive left saw the report as presenting a stumbling block to advancing abortion and LGBTQ rights, which are top priorities of the Biden administration. Clearly, this is true, right? So what it's saying is, if we give precedent to religious freedom, this is what they're saying. If we give precedent to religious freedom, religious rights, it's going to go against our fight for LGBTQ and abortion. That's basically what he's saying, right? So you as a Christian, all this boils down to. Your rights as a Christian don't amount to much to this administration. Okay, that's what it comes down to for me. This is clear. There's other examples, like I said. This, Lonnie, you've been doing this for a long time. We can have a marathon of interviews and pull up articles and videos all night long. But it's clear when we look at stories like that, and amongst others, that they clearly have an anti-God. I'm just gonna pull up one more. One more article here that makes the point that I'm trying to make here. Let's see here. Let's get this up. Oh, okay. Now this is interesting because we were just talking about. I didn't even know. So that's why I'm glad I do notes, because I'm old. You know what I'm saying? If I don't write it down somewhere, I'm probably gonna forget it. So
Yeah.
I made him put this link up here.
I got my notebook right here for that reason.
Exactly. So let's see. So here's the story. This is WashingtonTimes.com. It says right there, Democrats have officially abandoned God. Now, look when this was written. This is August, 2 weeks, just like 2 weeks ago. Listen, it says one of the most flummoxing and embarrassing moments is in modern history unfolded at the 2012. We were just talking about that, right?
Right.
Democratic National Convention says at the time Barack Obama was alarmed that his fellow Democrats adopted an official platform that removed God. He asked why the Almighty was taken out and requested that the Lord be put back into text. Republican leaders who mentioned God 12 times on their platform, 2012 platform, seized upon the Democrats' blunder, criticizing not only the removal but the decision to yank support for Jerusalem. I forgot about that part. They didn't want it. They didn't want to name Jerusalem as the capital of Israel anymore either, right?
Yeah.
Or am I wrong about that?
You're right, bro.
Okay, so look, so now it says, with criticism and fervor snowballing, Democrats scramble to change course on their platform through a cacophony of chaos on the second day of the 2012 Democratic National Convention, yada, yada, yada. We went all through all that. We already went all through all that. What I want to see is, let's see, fast forward 12 years, and it appears Democrats are finally prepared to abandon God once and for all, with the draft of the 2024 Democratic platform offering no mentions of God, Lord, or Almighty. Really? Of course, it's possible that Vice President Kamala Harris ungainly replacement of President Biden, a man who has touted his Catholic faith yet seemingly didn't demand God be mentioned, could lead to amendments to the final platform, though that remains to be seen. Ain't nobody saying nothing about. I haven't heard nobody say nothing about this. Have you?
Nope.
It says Ms. Harris too has talked about faith, though, as often is the case with the politicians, that influence often doesn't translate to policy. We were just talking about this. Let's talk about this right here. That what we just heard right there. Because you can talk. Well, you know, Lonnie. People talk about God all the time, especially during political season. But when does that ever cross over into policy?
Yeah, not often, because they can do what I call political speak, which talks around the edges and use the term God.
Yes.
But you won't hear Jesus mentioned. You know,
No.
or any of the tenets of the faith therein, because they're trying to appeal to a broad audience. In the
Yeah.
case of Kamala Harris,
Hmm.
she's Hindu anyway. So, um, you know, which God is she talking about? Because
Exactly.
within that religion, they have thousands of gods.
Yes.
So
But
it
you know it. But anyway, but you know when she walk in the house in a black church, all of a sudden she got the twang and she gonna be talking to speak. She don't watch enough videos. You know what I'm saying? And she know how to end up her speech with how the Baptist preachers. They know how to do all this stuff.
she
You know what I'm
does,
saying?
and she did just like Hillary Clinton did with the hot sauce. You
Yeah.
know,
Oh man, that
and
is so.
I am no ways tired. You know, and I'm like, you got to be kidding! And folks are still supporting.
I,
I just, aren't you guys offended? You know,
exactly right.
yeah. It's
And
just like,
this what I can't understand, Lonnie. Like you know when you watching the movie and you know what you watching it for the second or third time, and you know the part of the movie that's coming up.
yeah,
Like to me, this is the same thing.
yeah.
Watching this unfold is like watching the same movie over and over again. You know why y'all trying to get all excited, and you already knew you've seen this before. I've seen this movie before. I've seen this movie 5 times, and it's not gonna change. It's the same movie, the same 4 times I've seen it before. It's not gonna change. The dialogue ain't changed. Nothing is gonna change. The final cut that came down, it's been edited. Ain't nothing gonna change. But y'all act like it's something new. I don't get it. I don't get it, my brother. I really don't.
It must be, I'm thinking it must be effective at some level, that because they continue to do it because they
Yes.
know people are not going to do their research. But let me put a
Mm,
big caveat in there. I think this time it's different. And it's different because, for one, there are platforms like yours across the country. Social media has changed the dynamic of how information is disseminated to the public. So you got and these young people, they're younger than you and I. There was
yes.
a group of young men on a college campus in Louisiana. I think it was the University of Louisiana at Lafayette,
Hmm.
and it was like 5 of them, and they had discovered Thomas Sowell, and they
Mm,
were talking about him. These young men are in college, and most of them are
yeah.
19, 20 years old, right around in there. And they discovered Thomas Sowell, Walter Williams, and then they started following others. And now they're bringing in their peers and giving them that truth. Well,
Hmm.
they're doing this because one of them got a hold of one of your shows, or maybe one of my shows in
Mm,
social media, one of my quotes, or something that we've done, those of us who are kind of pioneers in this,
hmm.
and it's catching fire. And so my hope is that it'll have impact. Now, the folks that are my generation, I
Hmm.
don't know, man, because them Negroes, man, are stubborn. I'm just going to say it like it is stubborn, but these younger ones, I think they're still malleable, and they
Right.
can receive and hear truth. But I think it
Yes.
comes from individuals like yourself, because I see you on your platforms. And we weren't going to get on TikTok,
Hmm.
because folks were, you don't want to do that because security and the Chinese and all like that.
Right. Right.
But,
Right.
but
Right.
what we discovered, man, the momentum is on TikTok.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Yes. So we got to get on there. And so
Yes.
I saw you, and I went, oh, yeah, look at this brother here. He's spitting straight truth. So I told the other guys, the other founders and so forth, and they
Hmm.
counseled. And they said, yeah, let's do that. And we're getting tremendous traction because of it. So I want to thank you for that.
Yes. Oh, no problem at all, man. No problem. No problem at all, man. Well, look, Lonnie, man. I wanted to in the show. I want to talk about your website. I'm going to pull it up right now. Your website, everyblm.com.
BLM.com.
We're going to pull it up right now, and we're going to look at it because I looked at this, and brother, I look at a lot of I like look at a lot of information all the time, and I have to say that this is some of the most excellent stuff that I have seen that's out here, particularly for if we're talking about for our people.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? This is excellence, brother. That's what this is. So everybody that's here, I'm gonna put this in the chat, and I want you guys to all go there to look at this, my brother's website here. If you want to connect to someone who actually really cares about the Black community, you want to be partnered with my brother here, Lonnie Poindexter. I'm telling you, you're going to go on this website and you're going to see some of the most excellent things you've ever seen. And we're just going to go over it. We support all Black life unapologetically. It says this means we support life in the womb and value it all the way to natural death. That is one of the most excellent statements I've ever heard, brother. That's the whole life. You know what I'm saying? And so so thank you for that. And just scanning across this thing, all the people that you have involved, parents as partners. It just says we stand behind parents with a commitment to empower and support, backed by experienced advocates. We offer relevant resources, national, local networking strategies to effect change in your community. Your journey toward community engagement is shared and championed by a reliable ally. We genuinely have your back every step of the way. This is helping parents with their kids. I mean, that's coming into partnership with them. And there's other things here. There's pro-Black life, of course, which is the opposite of the abortion industry. Absolutely. You have a whole vision, mission statements here. Black economic prosperity, anti-Marxism, all these things that you have laid out here. It's just such an excellent idea. I don't know who came up with this, man, but God bless you guys for coming up with this, because in this time that we live in now, brother, we need this. We need this in our community right now. We've been talking about the assault. You want to talk about one of the we talk about all the time, and I talk about on here all the time. We talk about the the Holocaust.
Mm-hmm.
I see the abortion in the Black community as the Black Holocaust.
Oh yeah,
that's how I see it.
Yeah,
that's how I see it.
Yeah,
and it has so affected us to the tune of, like you mentioned it earlier, over 20 million Black babies gone because of this. Over 73 million in total, because we all know we all come from one place. We're all one race. And you mentioned that on your website as well. And I truly believe that with all my heart also. But as we're talking about a Black issue right now, this is why I'm lauding your website here and putting my 100% full backing behind it, because it is so needed and it is such a blessing for the community, brother. I really do appreciate what you're doing with this movement. So, like I said, I added that. And if you guys haven't, this is what I'll do. What I'll do with you guys, I'm going to share your all your links with my community at a later time, so they can connect with you and the work that you're doing, bro, going forward, brother. Because like I said, you are a godsend, and I really do appreciate you, my brother. Thank you so much for spending time with us here today. So what do you got, like I don't want to say closing statement, but just as we wrap up, man, give us your final thoughts.
It's my final thoughts is, again, thank you for allowing me to be on your platform. I really appreciate it. I have a lot of respect and love for what you're doing and for your courage to do it. Because courage is something that, if I remember correctly in scripture, there's things that God says he hates. On that list, one of them is a coward.
Yes.
And because God can't move through cowardice people. You got to stand up for something to see him move. Go where his arms and legs. Kevin McGarry, who's the president of our organization, Neil Mammon is the vice president, are two Christian apologists These brothers, I'm usually sitting at their feet taking notes because they
Yes.
just have a wealth of knowledge, and then they have the boldness to speak that knowledge. Kevin is in Washington, D.C. Well, he might be on a plane coming back, but he's been in D.C. since Thursday because there was a big march considering children. The March for Kids took place there in Washington, D.C., and he was one of the speakers, along with many other notable folks, including Alveda King and other Christian stalwarts who are standing up and speaking the truth, who happen, and not just black, anybody that loves God and
Yes.
loves the children. And so, because of what's happening to the kids and them trying to indoctrinate the children in the schools and in libraries and every place, also, he's back there doing that. He's written several books. He's been on a mission. In the last 2.5 years, Kevin's written 3 books, and he's got a 4th one that's in the works. So that'd be a total of 6 books with his previous writings that deal with these topics here. One book that he just finished was on DEI, and he just finished that one. This latest book happens to deal with children and what have you in the agenda. There's another book that talks about the attack on women, the true attack on women, the fact that they're allowing men to say they're women and compete in women's sports and what have you. He digs into all of that. So you can find information on those books on the website, or you go to Amazon.com and get those books. Just type in Kevin McGary, M-C-A-R-Y. Let's see,
Kevin McGary.
M-C-G-A-R-Y. And you can get his book, Neil Mammon's books. Neil's last name is Mammon, M-A-M-M-E-N. And his book is Jesus Was Involved in Politics. And he just did a rewrite on it. It was a powerful book. It came out about 5-6 years ago, but he did a rewrite on it, and he goes into, so it'll give, it's a great tutorial to for those who want ammunition as they push back on those who would say that, well, we're not supposed to be involved in politics, separation between church and God state, which is a lie because it's not in our founding documents anywhere. Again, thank you, brother. Our website again is everyblm.com, everyblm. We have a new launch. I'll finally mention this, and this one is called Mavericks in Faith and Culture. And that's the platform I want to get you on. And that's a podcast that we do once a week. We just started doing it, and we want to pull you into that. And we really, the way you dig into things in this environment, this is what we do on that. It's a 1-hour show. Sometimes it goes over.
Yes.
And when we dig into these types of things, and we'll have subject matter experts come on like yourself to talk about it as well. Thank you again, my brother. Much appreciated.
Yes, sir. God bless you. Hey, everybody. Hey, Lonnie Poindexter, a true man of God and a true patriot. God bless you, my brother. Appreciate you for being here, man. I can't wait till we get together again, man.
All right,
God
man.
bless
Thank
my
you.
brother. All right. You have a good evening, man.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Be blessed. So, listen, like I said before, get this, share this. Listen, share this with your Democrat friends. Okay. And if you're a Democrat, you need to think about this, what we've talked about here. You need to think about this because we just barely scratched the surface here, guys. We just barely scratched the surface. But if you dig deep, keep digging, if you truly walk in the Spirit of God, you must come to the conclusion that the policies that the Democrat Party stands for are not godly policies. And if you vote for them, you're voting for ungodliness in our country, some of which affects our children and our grandchildren. I've clearly demonstrated that. My brother Lonnie, along with me, we've clearly demonstrated that tonight. So I want you to think. I want you to think about it. Before you go to the polls to vote, you need to be thinking about this. Am I voting with my emotions, or am I voting with the best information that I have available to me? That's what you need to think about. Amen. So with that, listen, I just want to give a shout out. I hope you guys all go to my brother's website, like he said. I've been sharing it in the chat. Also, Stephen Rankins, appreciate you, man. Thank you for being here, my brother. Built for Speed. Thank you for being here, my brother. Appreciate you. Nick Austin, God bless you. Thank you for being here. Sheila Monroe, appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Dante Burnett, thank you for being here. My brother Steve, Jesse Walsh, appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Kevin Page, thank you for being here. And I think that's it. Yep, pretty much. So God bless each and every one of you guys. Can't wait till we get together and do it all again. Pray when you go to the polls. Pray before you vote. With that, God bless you. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. Peace.